right, everybody, welcome to this, I guess a discussion that I wanted to have that was more of a true discussion. And the issue that we're dealing with is what's happening here in Alberta, my dear province, the province that I love and that I want to succeed, and all of the fine people that are here working, studying, who are looking for opportunities. And we, unfortunately, I'll turn up my audio a little bit here as we go live. It's been a little bit of a crazy day, going through consultations and, helping people respond to all kinds of procedural fairness letters that are coming out. Oh, do I have a ton of those? People making mistakes, people accidentally misrepresenting on their applications, and a whole host of problems. We've been dealing with them in our office. But today, my friends, this is all about the Alberta Opportunity stream. And what caught my attention once again was I follow X all the time. I'm always on here, and I saw this post. So I'll start off here and I'll just share my screen, not that one. Okay, so if you look here, this Twitter post, this is just yours on your handhelds, it'll show differently. But this is the Alberta Immigration and Multiculturalism site. So this is the organization, the government department that handles these types of matters, including the Alberta Advantage immigration program. And remember, you guys, it's the Alberta Advantage immigration program. So I was following here and I saw, once again, this is the official one, so I follow it closely. And of course, July 11th, you can see yesterday, the application target for the AOS stream has now been met. Simple as that. Okay, it's pinned. That's great. But what I love to do is to review the comments. And so I started going through the comments. You can see there's like 118 comments here. Actually, let me go back here and let me see if I can just pull up this one itself. So there's about 118 comments. And as I read through all of these comments, the frustrations, the pain, the suffering that people have gone through, to the point where the one that really troubled me the most was one that I had warned the province about. I knew this was coming with a race to file. Alicia and I had talked about this, but I can't remember exactly where my comment was, but one person here posted something right here, okay? TN 1998 says, why do you let these scammers abuse the system? And if you go into here, you can see people are saying, hey, anyone need this? Inbox me. So basically, a person had basically secured one of the spots. Let me know if anyone need this slot. See, basically what they're doing is they're going in, locking up a slot, and then offering to sell, sell the spot. So anyways, it just really, really troubles me. And so in there, I think this one, is this the one I responded to? No, it's not. There's a couple. Anyways, I can't remember which comment specifically I responded to. But the reality is I generated, I can never remember how to find my stuff that I post here. All right, there we are right here going live. But I generated a post in response to this. And let's see, is this the one? No, I can't remember. It's all a blur. Anyways, a very detailed post that I directed back to as a comment to not only our premier of Alberta, but to the minister as well. And so maybe it was this one here. Yeah, this is it here. Just talking about the frustrations and basically saying, look, you guys need to stop this. You need to suspend this. And I threw out, some just basic comments, things that I was thinking about. And obviously I haven't had a lot of time today to really digest this fully because obviously I've had, client matters that I've been dealing with all morning, some really time sensitive stuff. And finally, I have a little bit of time this afternoon to surface. But within this Twitter feed and the comments to it, this one right here that the Alberta Advantage immigration program had announced, and you can see the thread is over here on the right. As I read through the people's comments, it was heartbreaking. And, the unfairness, the system is discriminatory. Like, how could you just make it a race to file? How are these people that are being, who are getting in, how are they the best people for the province? And so this is kind of the world that we're dealing with right now. And I wanted to do this live stream specifically for you to offer your comments and your thoughts. And I'll just pull up a few separate little things here. Let me see if I can get rid of some of this stuff here. Yes. And Natalia here, thanks for connecting in. And this is something that is really near and dear to my heart, because I'm so sick and tired of the corruption that exists within immigration. I'm sick and tired of agents who are exploitive, representatives that are taking their position and using it to, to just make a buck, employers who are screwing over people, and just everyday individuals who are trying to exploit the circumstances of others, like these people who are trying to sell access to the system. And I'm pretty ticked with my own government. I'm upset with how the Alberta Advantage immigration program has set this up, because it did not need to be this way. So those of you who are tuning in here, I want your comments. I want you to post your solutions, but to give us a little bit of a roadmap, I wanted to start off here with my own thoughts. And as I talk about these things, like I said, I welcome your comments. Welcome Raja here from Calgary. And please give me a shout out where you're tuning in from. This time, I have to assume it's the people in Alberta that are the ones that are most affected by this. Nicole here says, under the tourism stream, even casino workers are prioritized over policy analysts for the provincial nominee. Shame of the government of Alberta. And lots of people are very right to express their frustrations. So just starting off, I want to start right with the elephant in the room. That is this stupid race to file. As I've told immigration in the past, race to file, when people know the exact portal where it's going to be opening up, only lends itself for scammers to jump into the system. And that's actually the second point I wanted to make. So these go hand in hand. So one, just the unfairness of a race to file means that whoever is the fastest trigger, they're the ones that are going to become a permanent resident in Canada. And not only Canada, but resident in Alberta. How can that be in the best interest of the province? A race to file. It just doesn't make sense. And without any other mechanism other than you meet the basic eligibility, and whoever can get their application in submitted the fastest. And we know people that were already filling their applications in the first round that had them partly completed and then got locked out, were struggling to get back in. And so they've set up this system where whoever has the fastest fingers for typing are going to be the ones that are going to succeed. And the system is just ugly. And so where do scammers fit in? Well, like I talked about earlier, you have people that have no intention of immigrating to Canada, who are now or maybe they're already immigrants here in Canada, I don't know, who are jumping on the system, blocking up the spots, and then telling people, hey, I've got this spot and I'll reserve it for you and you can take it over. And we're not even talking about the people who have these automated dialers, right? Essentially, I don't know how else to describe them. And maybe if someone understands how this racket works, I'm completely willing to pull you on even as a guest live to talk about how technology can be used to block spots and to reserve them, kind of like auto dialers, when you're trying to book tickets to a concert, right? Or, for example, the province of Alberta, who is using the same system that's used to book camping sites. That's effectively what the system is that they're using. Well, I've got another idea that I want to point out, which is another made in Alberta solution that I'll get to a little bit later, but this is kind of where the discussion points are going. So this race to file, clearly, I don't think there's anybody who thinks this is a good idea. And I don't know if the program, they were just thinking, well, what can we do as quickly as possible so that we don't have to ruin our summer trying to figure out how to resolve this issue? Is there a fast way that we can deal with this massive oversubscription to the service, to the AOS, to the rural renewal stream? Is there something that we can do very quickly to just manage it? And then some person in the department came up with this brilliant plan, who clearly did not speak with their counterparts in BC or Ontario, or look at how the federal government administers their race to file programs, because they still do it. Well, they got this brilliant idea that we'll just open it up and we'll use the same system that we use for booking our campsites. And this is what we're dealt with. They never anticipated the massive flood of applicants and just the huge problems that it's created. And 1 month after the first round in June, July is not much different. So you go back to our list of discussion points. we've got the unfairness of the race to file. And I want to hear your point. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you feel that this is actually fair? Do you feel like maybe there's a reason? In fact, I reached out to the through the Twitter post, and I said, hey, is there anyone from the department that wants to reach out to me and give me your side on why you felt a race to file was going to be the best route forward? Now, of course, I haven't heard anything from them, but I would love for someone from the department to just say, hey, I'm here. I'd love to answer your question, and I'd love to give our perspective on this. But ultimately, it just seemed like a very poorly thought out process, given what they knew was going to happen. And it definitely was not in the best interest of applicants. I'm assuming people wanted to go on holidays, so we'll just roll this out. And, it's not fair, but we just have to do what we got to do to get her done. All right. Next thing on the list is basically the personal and professional disruptions. The Alberta Opportunity Stream, by and large, is designed for people who are working in Alberta. So who of the most qualified candidates can just put their whole life on hold, take a whole day off or days off to try to get into the queue in the hopes of maybe getting one of those precious few slots? And when we talk about precious few slots, I think you guys know where I'm going with this. If we go to the Alberta Advantage immigration program itself, and for those of you who are wondering, okay, I see Mark's got a live going on, what the heck is he doing? Well, we know that the Alberta Advantage immigration program only has 9,750 slots. Well, they have to allocate them somewhere, and I've had lots of previous discussions. Alicia and I went through this in detail a month ago, talking about how this all plays out, but I want to go down to this lovely little table down here that shows essentially, and let's see if we can even get it to slide over. So this essentially shows the dates when they're going to open it up, which June 11th was the first. Then they decided to split up the Alberta Opportunity Stream from the other ones because obviously the massive crushing demand for the Alberta Opportunity Stream was so high, they separated it out until yesterday. So at 10 a.m. And remember, for this one right here, they didn't even tell people other than a quiet little tweet to their let me just close this, a quiet little tweet that they posted to the Alberta Immigration and Multiculturalism site saying, hey, we're going to do this at 10. That was the extent of the announcement. My goodness, you guys, you can do better than that. But anyways, as you look here, 444 spots, okay? 444. So you have how many, I don't know how many thousands. I welcome your comments on how many individuals were in the queue ahead of you as you were trying to get in here. So when you're talking about personal and professional disruption, the people that you really want to target are the ones that are working, who just can't sit around and wait. And so it's just, I don't understand what went through their minds. Okay, next, what are the solutions? So one of them, and I'm just going to highlight it very quickly, and then we'll talk about it in more detail as more people chime in, and I'm going to get to your comments, but it needs for a point-based system. There is a reason that Alberta, there is a reason that Ontario both use points-based systems because they've always had way more people than they have spots. And so by utilizing a points-based system, at least people can see where the priorities are. The government in that particular province can choose the types of candidates that they feel will best meet the needs of the province. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background on the Alberta Opportunity Stream. I remember distinctly when the old program manager, I had many discussions with him before the global recession back in 2008, 2009. And he had built out this wonderful system that removed or took people away from, needing an employer to drive their application. Why? Because he saw lots of employers basically exploiting their employees, knowing that they couldn't go anywhere or wouldn't go anywhere because if they lost their job, they'd lose their potential nomination through the old employer-driven streams that were built within the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program, and before that, the Alberta PNP. And so they came up with this idea that was kind of like an Alberta experience class is the best way to describe it, where individuals would be able to qualify with their job offer, but they had the ability to move to other employers if their employers weren't treating them very well. It was based on their human capital, their language. There was even elements of settlement fund requirements, but it was more rigid. And over time, because of a slowdown in the economy, and we just didn't have as many candidates in Alberta on work permits because of the restrictions through the pandemic, that we didn't have as many to flip into permanent residence. So they opened up the Alberta Opportunity Stream, which is wonderful. It was probably the most broad program in all of Canada for admission. You could even be low skill, like a tier 4, tier 5 in those days, knock C, knock D, and still be eligible, subject to this list of, ineligible occupations. And if you're on the list, you could submit and you were pretty much guaranteed a spot. And where was the restriction? It was on employer-specific work permits. They wanted that. So if you're on just a general spousal open work permit, that didn't work. If you were on a postgrad work permit, you had to have studied in Alberta, like the system is now. But the restriction was there, and they thought that would be fine. Well, with all of the international students in Alberta, with the limited opportunities through express entry, more and more people then were relying on the Alberta Advantage immigration program. So those on LMIAs. And don't even get me started with how just so angry and frustrated I am with the temporary foreign worker program and all of you buggers out there who are just cheaters, scammers, exploiters, who are using all of the tricks of your trade to get LMIAs, not giving Canadians a fair chance, all with the design of selling those job offers. I detest you. If I knew who you were, I would report you to the authorities. If I was the minister over, justice in the province or federally, I would set up laws that criminalized it, that removed people's permanent residence if they immigrated to Canada and are now caught exploiting other people. I would remove you from the country. I would strip your PR away. And if you were a Canadian citizen by birth, I would literally lock you up and throw you in jail and impose heavy jail sentences. That's what I would do. That's the extent of what we're dealing with now. I will do another live stream on this specific topic when it relates to the temporary foreign worker program and the corruption that exists and the lack of ability ESDC actually has to track down and call out employers that are abusing the process, or their agents who are just manipulating it to sell job offers and just wrecking everything. We'll leave that. I'm on a war path right now because it's Friday and I'm frustrated. But going through this whole process, the reality is, yes, the province of Alberta had to do something. They had to. There was no question about it. And there wasn't a lot that you could, that they could do in a short period of time. But they didn't need to race to file. So back to the points-based systems, you look at Ontario and BC, there's a points-based system. If you fit within the realm of possibility, you could then submit your application. And then if, just like express entry, if you rank high enough, then you could get a notification to then submit an application. Sound familiar? It already exists with the accelerated tech pathway to some extent. So I don't think they needed I know they didn't need to do a race to file. So improving the system infrastructure. Obviously, you guys have seen that they've tried to hybridize another system, which just really is kind of, it can't handle this properly. It doesn't give people a meaningful understanding of their chance of getting in. The thing that frustrates me the most about the system infrastructure problems is those of you who got in and were filling your application out for June, that couldn't even get back in July. What is that? That is absolutely insane. I wonder if I can find this. Alberta. I want to show you something. And everybody has different views on different things. I'm from Alberta. I'm a country kid. I grew up in rural Alberta. And so what do? I participate in hunting. I hunt for my own wild game. I feed my family with it. Not everybody agrees with it, but it's a wonderful thing that I'm so grateful I have the privilege to do for my own family. But when it comes to hunting, we have a system in place that gives priorities. And so I know next week I will find out which draws I succeeded on, but I'll give you an example. So, and by no means am I saying this is the only option, because people just can't sit around and wait. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're doing a draw month after month after month, then there must be a way to set up a priority system where people who submitted and got in June should have the ability to rank higher than anyone else who's trying to get in July, August, September. So if you're going each month And each of these draws, and let me pull this up again so I can shift. And I know I'm a little bit all over the map with this, which wrong one here. If I go back here. So someone who submitted in June and started their application should rank higher than anyone who's trying to get into July or who's trying to get into August, September, October, December. So each of them should have the ability to rank higher and have a higher priority and a higher chance of getting drawn. Why is this not set up? Alberta, right here, if we look at, let's see if we have here. So the Alberta government, their Fish and Wildlife, has a special licensing process where you can submit your, and this isn't really it. Let me just see here. I got to find this. Alberta hunting draw. Sure, results 2024. Okay, so right here, Alberta Realm is the government system, and you log in and you submit your application each year for which one to hunt. Now, I one day would like to hunt a moose. And so in Alberta, it takes, in some areas, like especially down here south in 400, it probably takes about 16 years applying before I would be able to be drawn to go hunt a moose in 400. And so, but every year that I apply, my chances get better and better and better. And there is no reason whatsoever why the province cannot do the same thing for this process right here. There's no reason why they can't. And so in my mind, that would be the most fair system. But aside from this, like if they're doing this race to file, that's at least one way that they could do it to make it fair. But if you're looking at the draw systems that exist in other provinces, a draw system would allow them to select the candidates that the province actually needs. When you have so many candidates that want to apply, you have to draw the line at some point. So this is kind of some of the things that I'm thinking about. Okay, so improving the system infrastructure, yes. Do a weighted draw is really what it's called. Do a weighted draw. Why not? As far as I'm concerned, the federal government should have done this with the parental sponsorship years ago. I advocated for that when I was on the Canadian Bar Association's national executive, but it just never materialized. Okay, enhanced security measures. Once again, there has to be a way through two-factor authentication or something like that to prevent people from being able to lock up a spot and then transfer it to someone else in a way that they could basically scam the system and force people who are desperate to pay them for that spot that they really had no interest in using themselves. So enhanced security measures. Okay, another option that people have talked about is extend the application window. So back in, 2020, the parental sponsorship, they said, okay, everybody who's interested, submit a notification of interest over the month of January, I think it was. And everybody who puts in their expression of interest will be put into the pool. And then over the next 4 years, you've seen they've done draws where they've pulled out people, and the people that are in that pool stayed in the pool. And they kept drawing from that 2020 pool each year over the following, period of time. So why can they not do the same kind of thing as that with this system, where everybody who is interested in applying gets to submit some form of a notification of interest, and then they, through a lottery system, pull out the 444 or 430, however many it is, each round that they're going to do from the existing draw of people that originally expressed an interest, and maybe it was back in June, right? That was another solution that they could have done. But why? Largely, it has to do with the system infrastructure and just not thinking about it. So next on my list is priority. So you have to pick winners and losers. And one person said, Mark, you can't, because I said, look, you got to pause this bloody thing. Pause it for a couple months and figure out what you need to do, put the infrastructure in place and just improve it. You can't tell me that you don't have tech that can do this and that you can't make changes and roll it out in 2 to 3 months. My goodness, fine. I will turn my practice over to Alicia and Igor. I will come up to Alberta and I will help you design the system if you need help designing it. I will help you select contractors who can actually get the job done fast. My goodness, this whole world is scale, it's speed. With this crushing wave of artificial intelligence that's coming to infuse into everything that we do now, you can't tell me they can't flip something around in 2 months. And then some people said, well, Mark, if you do that, then what it's going to mean is those people whose time are running out are going to run out. And I understand that, and I have compassion for those people. I truly do. But the reality is there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers in this whole process. And so the question is, you just have to make a decision that's in the best interest of everyone long term. And that's part of the problem that's caused so many issues for IRCC with all of these 18-month extensions. And I get it. People who are here want to be able to stay as permanent residents. But we've said this over the past at least 2 years. I've said, look, there are not going to be enough room for everybody. Not everybody is going to be able to go through it. So, and it's a harsh reality, and my heart goes out to all these people who were sold a bill of goods thinking they guaranteed a pathway to PR by whatever overseas agent or rep that convinced them to do it. But the world is changing, and not everybody is going to be able to get through. So, I pull up Gooner Boy here. He says, how are you? I do not miss the stress of PR process. Hope they can get through. And I know, Gooner Boy, you were lucky, right? You went through the courses that I offered. We worked through it and you were successful. I will get to your questions, you guys, so just hang in there. I want to just get these thoughts out here. So, priority for Alberta graduates and workers. There are things that they can do to focus more exclusively on people that are already here. So that is a factor on Alberta graduates. But I want you guys to understand something. There are so many Alberta graduates and foreign workers here that it wouldn't change a bloody thing with what they're doing. Nothing. If you were to only restrict Alberta graduates and workers that are on work permits, for all intents and purposes, you are the people that are eligible through the Alberta Opportunity stream. It's you already. So some people have suggested it needs to be, but the real question is, are there particular industries? Do you restrict it to particular occupations or industries? The Human Capital Priority Stream in Ontario is specifically geared to pulling people in certain occupations into Ontario. Well, you could place a limit on the person needing to be in Alberta, but under a specific knock-out. They've done that before. Why? Why did you just go away from that? All right, community feedback and solutions. This is you guys. So one of the hopes of me running this live stream today is to get your feedback, your thoughts on what you think we should do. And now is time where we're going to open this up to our Q&A session, where I start pulling in your comments and seeing what you guys think about this, your experiences. And I really want to hear about it. I want to hear what's happened for you. I want to hear your thoughts, what you think should happen, solutions. And then I'm going to make it available to the Alberta Advantage immigration program. And I hope they watch this. I hope they're paying attention to it. Just going back to that Twitter feed alone and reading the comments that people had posted from that, this post saying it was full. I'll be honest. I don't get it. And I also want to point out here, our Premier Danielle Smith, you need to step in. You, and if those of you are wondering who's the minister over immigration, right here, Mohammed Yassin, these individuals absolutely need to step in and do something about this. So it's all fine and dandy. He obviously isn't terribly active here with his posting, but the reality is what needs to be addressed is this problem that we have with the selection process for the Alberta Opportunity Stream in these programs. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. It is not providing the Alberta Advantage. It's not demonstrating the Alberta Advantage. This is not how we do things. So let's see what you got to say here. Okay. Let's start with Raja here. So Raja offers the following comments. So inequity and access, and I really appreciate these comments. Applicants with better internet connectivity or technological resources may have an advantage, disadvantaging those with slower connections or limited access. This one right here, you guys, is probably, I don't know, like number one on my list. I will give an applause for that because that's one of the main problems, right? Next, pressure and stress, Raja says. The rush to submit an applications quickly can create significant stress for applicants, potentially leading to errors or incomplete submissions. Not potentially, 100% guaranteed. So back to the IRCC programs that were race to file, you guys will likely remember the H-1B process or the TR to PR pathway process, both of which were race to files. One huge difference between them and what the Alberta Advantage immigration program has done is that Alberta disclosed exactly where people would need to go to apply. That gives the tech scammers an ability to get in there, lock up those spots, and then start peddling them for $2,000-$3,000 while blocking other people. Where else did we see that happen? Well, with the federal government, we saw that with the booking of biometric spots, right? For the collection of biometrics. In India, during the pandemic, we saw that happen where people were blocking them and then selling the spots. This did not need to happen. Raja also says quality of applications. Prioritizing speed over thoroughness may result in incomplete or inaccurate applications, leading to rejections or delays in process. And Raja, these are great ones. I don't know if you chat GPT'd it, but it doesn't matter. This is meant for discussion. So, you know, I don't know, Claude or whoever you used, or if these are your own, it looks probably like it's probably Claude or something you're using, but it doesn't matter. These are really good ideas. Or maybe, you know, maybe these are your own ideas, or you pulled them from, you know, another blog post, but each of these are worth pulling up, and I'm going to answer all of your questions as well. So speed over thoroughness, guaranteed incomplete applications. Then next we've got here's disparities. Applicants in different time zones may face challenges in submitting their applications promptly, affecting their chances of consideration. Well, I'm not as concerned about that. I'm not. People in Alberta really should have the first priority. So as far as time zones, I don't see that as a factor. Yeah, and Natalia says, but that is not possible because the queue linked with the IP. Yes, there is that factor. Exclusion of highly qualified candidates. Yep, they are, because there's no difference between whoever qualifies for AOS, whether you're a rocket scientist or you're a food service supervisor, you have the same opportunity. And yeah, so if they're unable to submit, it doesn't, despite meeting all the eligibility criteria, well then too bad. Key says, are people starting to be in the queue before 10 a.m.? 100%. 100%. People, in fact, I went in a day before just to test it out, and I was 200 in the queue. It showed me as being like 210 in the queue. That was the day before. I was just testing it out. Transparency and fairness, Raja says, may lack transparency and fairness. Well, clearly, yeah. And this sounds like a good GPT list here, but that's okay. All right. Natalia says, yesterday at 10:01, there were around 4,000 persons in the queue. Yeah, at 10:01. Which suggests, you know, everybody could be all racing at that time, but I'll be honest, the day before I was able to see what position I was in the queue. That's right, Nicole. I'm glad. I'm going to give you another applaud here. As a political scientist, I've never encountered such a poorly designed immigration system. So sad. I cannot disagree. And once again, this comes back to if you want to complain to someone, then go right to the source. So Mohammed Yassin, right now, Minister of Immigration and Multiculturalism, he's the guy that is, the buck stops with him in terms of this program. So I don't know. Does Mohammed have any clue about what's happening on the intake? He's also responsible for multiculturalism, so maybe he spends most of his time with that. But aside from Mohammed, this is something that I would want to bring to the attention of our premier, Danielle Smith. She's a very hands-on premier, and you know, Danielle, I would love to connect with you. I'd love to talk with you about this program. I'd love to offer suggestions. I've been involved in this for 20 years here in Alberta. I've been a strong advocate for our province across all the social channels, including this. I love Alberta, and it just breaks my heart to see what's happening. All right, let's keep going down through some other comments here. Okay, Keith says the website was shut down before 10 a.m., so no one was able to queue early. Well, that's interesting because I saw before, Nash, like I said, the day before, I actually connect onto the link and I was able to connect in. So that's not the case, at least in some form or other. And even if it did open right at 10 a.m., well, these auto kind of robot dialers are the ones that are going to win that race. Okay, Raji, you've got some other comments here, but I think they're just a little bit too chat GPT for me. So we're gonna go to some other people. Although I will pull up here, Raj, number 9, which is on my list, which is selling application slots and scammers exploit the exploiting the applicants. Yes. So I'm sure you got a little help there from a friend, but we'll take it. It doesn't matter to me at all. Those are all really, really valid points. Okay, Nicole says my line was even 230, but it gave an error within the system, timeout error. It is now draft. I know, Nicole. It's just wrong. Salim, good to see you. Thanks for connecting in. Yeah, Natalia, last time checked about 21,000. So you guys can see, right? 21,000 that are competing for essentially July 11th, 444 spots. Man, there's a better way of doing this. There's a better way. Keep posting your comments. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear your solutions. Okay, Dennis says a score-based system needs time to develop. It does. For now, they should create a separate application pool and randomly draw from it monthly, overseen by a third party to ensure fairness. I agree. I don't have a problem with that, right? Do it like the parental sponsorship. Let a whole bunch of people in and then do a true lottery so that people have an equal opportunity. And yes, a lottery sucks, but it's far better than a race to file. I agree with that one, Denny's. Okay, Raja says addressing these issues through alternatives such as a points-based system, expression of interest. Yes, we've got that. Okay, Miriam says there were 14,442 people ahead of me, 5 minutes past 10 yesterday. Yes, I've seen that. And shout out to Mary who's watching on X. That is the reality. I don't quite understand this. We are making everything legal, which might be why we are suffering. Maybe you can clarify that comment. I'm not sure. Seishan says, absolutely the idea of employer support letter is flawed. Real genuine employers that are corporations will be very hesitant to do this, whereas employers with connections to these illegal consultants will benefit from this. This happens in Ontario all the time. Okay, I'll qualify one thing, Seishan. You are in industries where they're large employers who do not like to support PR because they don't treat their workers very well. They treat you like it's a privilege for you to work for them. And whether it's, big accounting firms, whether it's, and I shouldn't say that, the banks, like they just don't have, or big IT companies, they have no desire to support your PR. We've seen it over and over again. And so the employer requirements were required and important to try to cull out the crooked ones. And remember, I had a group of people with one employer who all received procedural fairness letters from the province because they didn't feel like their employer was truly operating and doing business in Alberta. So the very reason the employer requirements were added was to try to get around all of the fake stuff that was happening before. So I don't have a problem with the employer requirements. And it's not the case. Some large corporations, yes, won't support, and that sucks. But the vast majority of smaller employers who are genuine and legitimate do want to keep their employees and are willing to provide and explain, support to the AAIP. All right. Yeah, Nicole says both BC and Ontario have streams for international students, but nothing in Alberta. Well, Alberta doesn't care about international students. They care about post-grad work permit holders in Alberta who studied in Alberta and who are working in an occupation related to their field. They have no desire to support international students from other provinces who, by and large, if they get nominated here, are going to hit the road and head back to Ontario. Natalie says maybe get better servers because their website can't handle 30K visitors. Well, the reality is that is one part. That's probably a Band-Aid on a worser problem. Muthu says, I agree, this unfair race to file process. Absolutely. And Key says the tech pathway doesn't even take expression of interest. Yeah. And if you look at this, the tech pathway, before June, the application target, if we go to Accelerate Tech, was met. And look at how few, 30, 50. And the invitations for the July 9th were made up of people that had already submitted before. And this is how many are actually going to get invited to apply. So Accelerated Tech took a huge number of applications, and now they're trying to sort through them. But the reality is it wouldn't surprise me at all if August the 13th also said for the Accelerated Tech that invitations to apply were only coming from the existing pool. Wouldn't surprise me for August and September at all. So we'll see how that plays out. But thanks for bringing that up, Key. Natalia says the point system seems the best solution for this mess. I'm still recovering from the stress I lived in the last month. I know. And in all honesty, I have not represented anyone. And those of you who have subscribed to the Alberta Opportunity stream, the course that I was going to create, I just tossed it because at the end of the day, it just wasn't worth it. So anyone that has subscribed to that, you will be getting a refund on your money, because there was no point creating a course when you're dealing with this. It's a complete debacle. If they opened it up to something that was more fair, then I would continue forward with the course, but there wasn't nothing that I had to offer. What good does it teach people how to prepare their application, how to be ready, how to be first in line when you don't even have a prayer of getting in? It's just not worth it. Okay, Nicole says, I'm in favor of a point-based system, but I have no idea why the minister doesn't care. I don't know. I'm not sure if they don't care. The reality is with our ministers here, and I'm going to pull up Minister Yassine right here. I don't think it's a matter of them not caring. It's just he's got a large portfolio. It's immigration and multiculturalism, and it covers a whole bunch of different things. A settlement of asylums, all the Ukraine nationals, everything. It covers all that, and multiculturalism in general, promoting it. I just think he's not aware of the issue. Personally, I think, and that's why I linked them in my comment. That's why I actually called, Daniel Smith and Mohammed Yassine. That's why I directly reached out to them. They're the ones that have the authority to do something about this. And like I said, Daniel Smith has always been very, very hands-on, which I love about her. So yeah. Okay, now this is a reality, Nicole. If our work permit is almost due to expire, do you think it makes sense to wait for the program when they will fix this unfair system? No. Under no circumstance, even before this, did I ever recommend people would not just rely on the program. No, Alberta was never designed, well, at least in the last number of years, they don't like maintain status. They do not like nominations being used to support work permits. They expect that you can find a way to extend your permit, likely through an LMIA. So all of you who are in this situation hoping you can get a nomination to stay in Alberta, if your postgrad work permit's expiring, you need to find an employer who's willing to support you with an LMIA. There's no other alternative. Natalie says, I sent an email to Mr. Yasin after what happened on June. No response, of course, not even auto reply. Yep, not surprising. They shut down the website at 5 p.m. on the 11th. Yep. I'm surprised it even lasted that long. I think Nash is right. The queue started from 10 a.m. They closed the system one day before at 5 p.m. And that could very well be. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's what happened. And Nash says, shutting down the website deletes any previous queues. Very well could be. Danny says, the day before they shut down the system for the night, queue was formed at 10 a.m., but demand was so high, so the difference in 1 second was like 2,000. Yep, that makes sense. You guys, all that makes sense. Okay, Miriam says, why should a person who has a government job, has been graduated from Alberta and a high language score race with someone who is less qualified, especially with people who has experience out of Alberta? Miriam, just because you have a government job means nothing. Government jobs are not ones that are so much more superior to others. It comes down to positions where people are filling needs that are significantly benefit the economy in Alberta or job shortage. Your position may very well be an important job, but it by no means is irreplaceable. And so just because you have a government job, and I'm sure, and graduated from Alberta and have high everything, there are way more than, if we go back here, there are way more than 444 people that fit that same mold, all vying for these spots. So it's important to recognize that no one person is better than another in this process, unless the province says they are. In other words, they actually establish clear rubrics for the industries that are important. And in a way, you guys, they have done that. So in a way, they have identified the industries that are important to them. So you can see the dedicated healthcare pathway is one of those on the list where it's a priority. They wouldn't have created the accelerated tech pathway if they didn't feel like that industry was something that they wanted to pursue. You can see here dedicated healthcare, and then they have the priority sectors. And so there are some within those ranges. And as far as I'm concerned, within the Alberta Opportunity stream, these are identified within the express entry stream. So technically they could be receiving notifications of interest through their profile. But I think these priority initiatives need to be expanded out, and maybe bonus points given for people who have work experience in those industries, as well as a points-based system. Okay. So I think we've developed this. When it was said to open exactly at 10, Why did they line up earlier than that? Well, people basically were probably started to click enter, 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 enter all the way leading up to 10 so that they could potentially hit it right at that spot. It's just, regardless of the system, it's just not cool. Okay. Muthu says simply they should allow people to apply, review their applications, and make your decision. Treat applicants with respect, ensure fairness, and maintain their dignity. I agree with that. But when you have 22,000 people competing for 444 spots, you have to do things to limit the intake and to narrow the people that are able to qualify, to make sure that they are meeting the whole purpose of the program, which is what's in the benefit of Alberta. Okay, let's keep zipping through here. Let's see what else. Okay, Nicole says, I know a person who came a year ago, got a fake LMIA, and was nominated for Alberta's PNP, but we studied and worked here for years. We couldn't even get into the system. So Nicole, did you report the fake person to the authorities and take steps to tip off the government to what happened? Did you do that? That's my question. And as long as people are unwilling to do that, then you have no right to complain about people that you know about who are doing this. If you did, then kudos to you. Let me know. I'll help with whatever I can to try to unravel everything for that person. I have zero patience for that. And that's why the employer verification process, all of that stuff is a very, very hot button topic. Okay. And say, Sean, you're right. LMI scam is so bad. The numbers for the past years have overblown. There's no for serious score to win in this scenario. It isn't. Okay. I am, Kima says, I'm under the tourism hospitality stream. If I'm not successful under this program, what other route would it be possible? AOS is always there, but things are just not great. Looks like I'm just about to the end of our queue here. If you have any other comments, you have your thought, I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you have any special messages for the minister, for Minister Yassine, or for Daniel Smith, please, I want to hear about it. All right. Natalia says the queue they use act like virtual room to keep people out of the website to prevent the site from crashing. I still see this process unfair. It's true. I agree with that. Nash says, please refer to the top of the chat for some pre-screening solutions. Yeah, if you can repost them, Nash. Once I went live, any comments that were posted in the group before that did not get pulled up into my automated system that I have here. So those of you who have posted things in advance, pre-screening solutions, they are a part of the list, but I don't have the ability to pull them up until I actually went live. All right. Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other comments? Just as a little recap, some of the things that we discussed today, just the unfairness of the race to file, the scammers that are exploiting the system, just the personal and professional disruption to having to stop work to try to get into this crazy queue. The potential need for a points-based system, which I think I'm a strong advocate for. Improving the system infrastructure. Nobody likes to sit in a queue not knowing where they're at for hours on end, only to then have it shut down just when you're nearing the process of getting in, or having halfway filled out your application, then being notified that the cap was there, and then not being able to get back in the next month to continue your application. Enhance security measures, cut out the scammers. Another possibility is to extend the application window for a month and then do a lottery. Priority for grads and workers. Yeah, you have the ability within the point system to make some changes, and just listen to what people have to say. Okay, let's jump. Nash is pulling them over, and I appreciate that. We'll kind of wrap up with some more comments from Nash. Ineligible applicants, applications, and scammers are able to block access by getting to the top of the queue simply by clicking within less than a second. I believe there should be an eligibility checklist show. Agree. I don't have any issues with that at all. That's a fair comment. Which applicants must complete before entering the queue, where they confirm their eligibility by ticking off each requirement. Additionally, a warning about the legal consequences of misrepresentation. Nash, this one about the warnings, they don't care. They do not care. Until our government decides to crush people and actually throw them in jail or fine them with $1 million fines, like shut down their businesses, nothing will change, because it's all bark and no bite. It's always been that way with the government. Nash says, is there a legal basis for pursuing action against the Alberta if the presence of scammers or ineligible individuals is depriving eligible applicants of the opportunity to apply for PR? Maybe. I don't know. They definitely have a duty to people of fairness in the process, and there may very well be the possibility of a class action lawsuit. Hadn't really considered about that. I'm not suggesting they need to review applications, but rather just ensure that eligible applicants have the chance to submit their application in the first place. I agree. I absolutely agree, Nash. I can't discount that. Okay. Nicole says, unfortunately, I don't know the person well. I don't have any document to report. I wish I could. Well, you know the person, right? You know them, and you probably know where they worked. And there's lots of rumors of people, but the only way it will ever change is if people value and honor the rule of law in this country and respect it, and are willing to report people who are knowingly abusing the system. Okay, let's see here. Muthu says, please help us by sending an email or communication with the minister or premier or Alberta so they can intervene and assist us. Hey, this is stuff that I advocate all the time. Yes. Okay. And this is, Shabazz Khan Pathan says, I work as a food beverage supervisor, which is also known as food service supervisor. Many restaurants abuse this position so much that people who are actual supervisors are being questioned. Of course. Yeah. And it's like administrative assistants, office assistants, right? Executive assistants. That position is heavily abused as well. I get it for all of you guys. All right. Well, there we have it. We had a really good discussion, and I truly, truly wish that there would be something that can be done immediately here, even though it's the summer, by the department to allow for this program this race to fowl to be shut down. It is not something that is going to help or be in the best interest of anyone other than the department. If somehow you feel like it's just, you don't have the time to do it properly, well, then get people in there that do. Simple as that. So I welcome any opportunities for future dialogue with the minister, as I slide over here, with Minister Yassin, even with Premier Smith. This is an issue that you guys need to take a serious look at, because it is an embarrassment to our province. It really is. And there are lots of alternatives that could be done to correct it. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. I really, really appreciate all of the comments. We've got one last one from Rajbir. It says the system should be point-based. I have 15-year international telecom experience, but still struggling for PNP and PR. True. And Sunny says there should be some score system. Yes. Each of those are points that are very, very valid. All right. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in on a Friday, short notice. And okay, Natalia, nothing you can do about this. She says, I have a question. Many businesses refuse to sign the declaration form, and people without it still applying. Is that one mandatory? Yes. If it's a mandatory requirement, if they don't fit within to the public kind of domain, then it has to be submitted. And if it's not there, the application will get rejected. But you have to look at the parameters, because there's a difference between public and private. All right. Thanks so much, Sashan, for tuning in there on X, my favorite platform. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up, and stay tuned as we continue this conversation, because it is not over. All right, let's wrap up with some tunes here. All right, good luck. Have a good weekend. And for those of you who are stuck in the queue, turn this down a little bit. For those of you who are stuck in the queue, wasting your day away yesterday, my heart goes out to you. But take this weekend, try to get some sun, maybe drift down a river near you. And thanks for tuning in, as always. All right, take care, guys.